Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jose. I'm from Horror in Color, and we're so glad to have all of you. It is an absolute honor. Just seeing all of you guys' work over the years has been absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for taking the time for being here in the first place. But for anyone not familiar by any chance, for this project, for Naturally, we have the director Roscoe Guerrero. He's to my right-hand side. We also have Frank Fernandez, the creative director. And of course, we have Tinashe, of course, whose song is Naturally in the first place. And there's so much to get into. So first of all, this is completely drenched in horror visuals. So what's your relationship like with horror, if I can ask each one of you in general prior to this? I know that with seeing that there's dark imagery from each of you over the years, you all have kind of dark imagery within your art. For Tinashe, it goes all the way back to your first mixtape, In Case We Die. That's pretty dark, even within lyricism, within visuals, and it's all very visual in general. How is your relationship with horror, and how did it start?
You know, I think that horror's always been like one of my favorite genres of film. Just right. Like I always loved, like when I was younger, my favorite movie was like Saw. So I always loved to like spice it up with, like my first mixtape cover had I had like a skeleton on my back, and I love to experiment with things that make people feel like slightly uncomfortable, or that just in general, I like to make stuff that people don't expect. So coming off the back of my X music video and coming into, making this video, I really thought it was going to be something that nobody would be anticipating, especially on Valentine's Day. And I thought it would be really super ironic. And horror has been, like I said, one of my favorite genres forever. So I was like, we should make a horror video.
And so is that how is that kind of the inception of everything? Did Naturally kind of lend itself to be horror from the moment that you started recording it and making it and writing it, or was that kind of over time?
Yeah, no, I think the song was created as its own body of work. I created the song without the intention of making a horror video. I think usually that's what happens with me. Like it goes in parts, like I create the music and then like at a later time, maybe I'll start like thinking about what visually I think it represents. But I think for this song, it's got such like a sweet lyric, and it's like very much about love, but it's also about like kind of like an agitated version of love. Like you need someone, like you're craving someone, like a little bit obsessy, maybe like a little bit like deranged. And so I wanted to play into that even more, that maybe, okay, I think if we make a video that's really dark to this song that sounds really light and bubbly, there would be like a really nice irony there. And I think that that's what the video does. It kind of elevates the song to an entirely new level for me. It like makes it mean something totally different than maybe like the lyrics on paper would. You're like, oh, maybe this is just like crazy.
Absolutely. I totally see that when you write lyrics that kind of show that the person who this song is sung to is not really willing to reciprocate that sentiment back. That same kind of juxtaposition, it's crazy to see with, the all-white dress, but with a scythe on her shoulder as well. So at what point do you bring in your team? At what point do you find Roscoe, and at what point do you bring in Frank as well?
Well, I've worked with both of them before for a long time. So it's not that I just brought them in specifically for this project. Roscoe and I have worked on a few things for the past couple years. But this is like the first proper video that we've done. So we've always kind of been looking to do something cool. Waiting for the opportunity to work with Roscoe again. Frank and I have been collaborating for this whole 333 era. So yeah, I actually was sitting on a plane and we were brainstorming like what we wanted to do for the video. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm getting like, I was listening to a song in my headphones on a plane, like you're like in a different place, you're on the plane. And I was like, I'm getting like barnyard horror. Like, I think it should be like Little Bo Peep, like slutty Little Bo Peep. And so and I feel like my manager was like, question mark, I guess. And Frank was like, got it, amazing. It was like instantly on the same page. But yeah, so we were thinking of, but maybe like you said, Frank, someone collaborating with it to fund it. So we were like, how can we tone it down a bit? And then eventually we never toned it down.
Yeah, yeah, because I was at the time I was reading this like cookbook that A24 had put out called Horror Caviar, and it's like ugly, scary looking food, and I was like, this is kind of fucking cool if she's like eating stuff but we don't know what it is, like, and then we just ended up being like, no, she may be killing people, like we don't know, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love the difference in textures from the oranges, and you see the canvas and just all the materials. It makes for such part of the color palette for it all too.
You know what's kind of funny about that too, though, is that we had to do a specific take of perfectly cut fruit because before that, it still looked too gnarly. Like it looked almost like it was still like blood and guts. And like the producer from Green Glow, he's like, Steven, he's like, dude, we got to have some like very fresh cut stuff because people are just not going to get that. You know what I mean?
It's crazy how much fruit looks like raw meat when presented in that context.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looked like potentially like some gross, like, but it was literally like chopped up strawberries and oranges. It was like really cool how they were able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the production quality of the video is amazing as well. And I see you worked with live animals. You posted some footage today, Tinashe, of one of the actually giving you a little push. That seems to be in itself. But how was it? How was it working with the live
It
animals?
was a challenge. It was a challenge. You know, they're not like professional actor sheep, like they're just sheep. So we had to kind of rig it where I was like holding food in my hand so I could kind of lead them so that they would potentially follow me. But there would be so many takes where like they would run away, like they were not following me. Or that one sheep, the one with the black face, he kept like getting too close to me and he would like jump up on my skirt and like pull my skirt down and I'd have to be like, cut, do it again, cut. But like honestly, I felt like they were pretty well behaved considering they were not trained. But it was pretty cool to be able to actually incorporate sheep. That was really dope.
Yeah.
And oh, whose concept was your concept was the little Bo Peep, essentially, right? And then who brought in all the other elements? So Frank, did you bring in which elements did you specifically were you most proud of contributing?
I mean, it was definitely like a collaboration with me and Tinashe when we were writing the treatment. I think because she said horror movie, I thought it would be cool to do this sort of like homage to like every horror film. So there's like a point where like you see all the weapons and they're all weapons from other horror movies. So it's kind of like a little love letter to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like what really sprung it was the fact that she wanted like daylight horror, which I think is always like kind of the most horrific ideas. Like seeing blood in sunlight is like, it's kind of worse than seeing it at night.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's like unexpected. But
Right.
Frank was the one who brought in the specific Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference, like that frame of her in the back of the truck with the blood, and she's like laughing, recreating that exact moment. That was because we found a truck that was like the same color, just like happened to.
On
No.
set.
It was just on set. Yeah. So
Crazy.
great.
It looks right on too. We've posted a side by side and it is absolutely amazing, just the accuracy. I'm interested, Roscoe, how was it kind of creating something that people would have such a specific reference for, like something that people would have something to compare it to?
Fun, you know, because I'm like them, I'm just a massive horror fan, especially like 70s and 80s horror, you know, and slashers. And so being able to like recreate that and then, you know, Tinashe being in the back of the truck and like going for it. I mean, it was fucking awesome. You know, it's like I have zero complaints about that. It was kind of a cool experience too, like being able to come into something that they had already sort of worked out and like figured out the story of it and then like just how to interpret that, you know, and just sort of translate their stuff and just like mix it up and make it. You know, it was a really fun challenge.
You know what else was kind of a coinky-dink? When we were looking for locations, it was really like we were starting looking for fields because like the main entrance is kind of like in a field and it's like with the sheep. kind of like giving Bo Peep like farmer, deranged farmer kind of vibes. And the location that we found that had the best range, like both had a place that we could go inside, that we could chop things up, that looked cool for like a dance sequence, and had like a field, happened to be like an orange grove. And that wasn't necessarily intentional at first, but it made perfect sense when we were incorporating the blood oranges, and we were in like this orange grove. So I feel like like everything just kind of fell into place. It was like perfect.
Dope.
Yeah, that does seem perfect. And with Roscoe, your background is in, I see some horror shorts as well. And that was before you worked on with Tinashe on projects that had nothing to do with horror as well. I see in church for Tinashe's performance of All Night. That is just sweeping, you know, that you bring your kind of own past with horror into this project.
I think that's why they kind of brought me on, right? Because they had already built this treatment and this idea, and then Simone and her, and you know, we'd worked together before, and so I think, you know, they knew that I had some instincts in horror, and then some of the sensibilities that maybe I could bring something to the project, and yeah, hopefully I did.
No, you definitely did. That's when I saw your Instagram and someone had suggested you, I was like, this guy looks perfect. Like, yeah, he understands it.
Right.
And so for the deleted parts that you show, like that didn't make the video, like some of the footage that you posted today, Tinashe, what happens to that footage afterwards, just in general for music videos? I think a lot of people would be curious, does it stay on someone's computer? Does it go into some kind of archive? Like, what happens to those things that, you know, aren't really for the public to end up seeing?
You know, they get lost in the dimension of lost songs and lost videos and things that get cut. You know?
And it's really good.
That's really good. Eventually that scene got cut because, to me, I felt like we wanted to keep it more in the narrative space. And I feel like that performance shot kind of took us into more like music video territory, where we already had that with the dance sequence, and I just felt like it kind of ended up being unnecessary, and I wanted to stick with storyline and narrative. So that's why that scene inevitably got cut, even though it looked really good.
Yeah.
But that's a great problem to have in a music video when you have to cut something that's like awesome, you know, because that not oftentimes doesn't happen. Usually you have too little footage, not like we have too much.
Absolutely.
Kill your darlings.
And for Frank, for doing the kind of written treatment for a project like this, how do you usually start? Is it like a short film where it would be in a script format, or is it a little bit different? Is it like laid out concepts?
It's kind of like I work visually. Like I go through my bank of images that I have a horror folder, and then I go and like kind of Google stuff, or I go on this website called Shot Deck, where like they've essentially screenshot a ton of movies and have tagged them, so you can search for like bloody eye, and like hundreds of bloody eyes come up, you know. So it's mostly visual, and then I see these beats that could be in it. And yeah, like, I mean, I think like just the concept that she told me, like I kind of knew like it has to be field, it has to be sheep, it has to, you know what I mean? Like I was like looking for these beats that we could follow. But it's mostly like a couple sentences describing what comes, and then a few references. And yeah.
I see.
Not so much a script because there's no dialogue, but it's like action. Yeah.
That would make sense. And for the production in general, I see we have some questions specifically about the project that this is from, 333, you know, the deluxe edition. And this seems darker than the album 333 in general. And so what makes this the perfect song to put out right now before the release of the deluxe? Because I know, Frank, you worked on the cover for that as well, and already just the contrast in the album art is quite different in that tone as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Tinashe, you want to take this one, or you want me to?
I think both. I think we can both speak to it.
Yeah.
For me, I think there's a good, I always love to play with duality, and I love to play with like the range that it lives within all of us, I think. I think again, like having some juxtaposition between like the original cover and then the deluxe is what makes it interesting. It kind of completes the storyline. 333, the original cover art was a lot about, potentially living in simulated reality, kind of letting go of things holding us back. It was very spiritual. It was very like natural. It was very awoken. It was very like third eye. It was tapping into all those themes. And then we made some references throughout those videos about like VR and about, potentially thinking about what reality really is, playing with, okay, like this is one side of it, but then maybe the deluxe reveals this entirely new side of it where we've kind of broken that fourth wall down. Like maybe we've broken out of the simulation, and that's where kind of like the scaffolding kind of comes in. Like it was all a set kind of a thing, or it was all not what it seems, what it appears to be. And just kind of playing with those concepts, I think, was really fun. And having this being like the darker version of 333, aesthetically speaking, it made a lot of sense for all the visuals to kind of fall in that same vein. So it made perfect sense to make a video that was really dark as well, totally different than like Pasadena or Bouncin' or any of the other ones. So that was pretty fun. Frank, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was excited because I feel like, yeah, for the first kind of wave of 333, it was like kind of high fantasy, beautiful, lush, like this almost like goddess looking woman in in like a jungle or forest, and who's got like these sort of supernatural almost powers where she can see further. And then the other one, yeah, it felt like it was like we ripped out the fantasy, and suddenly it's almost like this girl that's almost kind of in like a like dark future, trying to recreate that with like electronics rather than like it being from her, and instead of like having lots of depth where you can see forest in the background, it was really flat, so there was like nothing but void behind her. So it's like, yeah, this idea of like this dark sister that is almost trying to recreate 333 but is doing it in her own way
And potentially exist in the same universe or in two different universes simultaneously. I think
right.
that it was like, okay, maybe you can look at it through one perspective and it's like this nymph goddess, and maybe you can look at it through some other perspective and it's really like it's all digital, or kind of out of that. So that's cool.
And I've seen that theme with your work repeatedly, like with Night Ride right before Joyride as well. I love that kind of duality that stays consistent in all your work. And I know, Roscoe, I wonder how it was for you going into this knowing that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is just about to come out as well on Netflix. Was that a coincidence, like happy coincidence, or was that...
Total coincidence. I knew it was coming out, but I had no idea it was coming out. Like, I think it comes out like tomorrow.
Like, yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden there was like a Fangoria thing and all this stuff. I was like, what the shit? But I knew it was coming out. I mean, I've been following the project forever. And so that's just a happy accident, man. That's the universe.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's really funny to me how much synergy there is with creatives just in the world, in the universe. Like a lot of times when I have an idea for something, or like I do a shoot, for an example, and people have like a mood board, I'll see the same themes popping up in like 8 other mood boards of other shoots. Or like if I have an idea for something and we do it, then all of a sudden I like start seeing that idea with a lot of other people. And it's just like really interesting, I think, how like the zeitgeist, like we'll all, like creatives are somehow tapped into like the same, I don't know.
Like the ether.
I don't know how to explain it, but I noticed it a lot, honestly.
Yeah, and then I think when we were about to shoot, Naturally, that trailer for X came out, which is also a song title of yours. But like it's also like daylight barnyard horror from like that looks like 70s. It was just like, okay, this is crazy that we're
came
seeing
out
it.
The day of like the location scout. We were talking about it. Like, I just saw this trailer. I was like, dude, I was just watching that in the car.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is crazy. A pretty crazy coincidence. And what have been your favorite reactions to the music video so far? because now people have gotten some time to live with it. And so, what have been your favorite kind of reactions, and what do you
That
think?
sold my soul. My soul.
Is there a lot of Illuminati comments?
A lot, but they didn't up until like today. It like took them
Okay.
days for them to like tell their friends who like don't really even care about the video to like come and be like, she's the devil, she's okay, get her. But yeah, I think, you know, it's fun. It's just interesting to me, like, let artists have the space to like, you know, be creative and dive into different themes and like
Experiment.
for me, yeah, experiment
Yeah.
and play. It's fun. It's way more fun.
Absolutely. Do you usually follow reactions? So I can imagine that for you, Tinashe, it's one thing to have that relationship with your fans that's really intimate. So you're always tuned in to what what they feel and how they react to your art. But for Frank and for Roscoe, do you guys usually gauge like audience reactions as something that's heavily important to you? And do you monitor that afterwards? Like, have you been looking at audience reactions?
I never do. That's why I'm always asking Tinashe, or I'm asking Tinashe's manager. I'm like, what do people think? Like, I just want to get a gist, but I don't want to go in and look at comments. And it's not even that I don't think I'm like afraid of seeing anything. I just don't even think of going to YouTube and looking at comments. Like, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I was able to just kind of gauge it off of them. I mean, I'll take a peek every now and then, but like if like Frank and Tinashe and Simone and they were all like stoked on it, and then we, you know, I achieved whatever it was that they were set out to do, then I'm happy, you know.
Yeah. And Tinashe also just has like the most awesome fans. Like,
yeah,
out of like all the artists I've worked with, her fans are so on it. I guess we lost her again. She's gonna come back. She touched the
she'll
screen.
come knocking.
Yeah.
Me-
Yeah. But yeah, like her fans are like, she just has the type of fans where they're never kind of half measure. They're always full in all the way, and they like love her, and she treats them like they're intelligent. Like, she doesn't sort of talk down to them or anything. So like, it's kind of like it's almost like a win-win, because she's always like, my fans will get this, or my fan, you know what I mean? She
Yeah.
like, I feel like, understands it.
Yeah, I absolutely see that. I see just with her engagement with everyone that it has never been like trying to dumb down any abstract ideas or anything, that her fans are really willing to engage with every kind of level of art, which is really fantastic. And oh, here we go.
Is she back?
Is about to be.
There she is. Did you touch the screen again?
Oh gosh, but sorry, I'm back. But like, fans are pretty accepting. Like, they understand the type of artist that I am, and the type of artist that I am authentically is somebody who likes to make a whole variety of things. And I think at this point they appreciate that variety. So shout out to my fans. They're really awesome.
Absolutely. And they helped promote and spread the word for today as well. So super grateful for everyone as well. And yeah, for the video, before we wrap up as well, were there any sort of themes or element of the video that any of you feel went over people's heads, or things that people haven't noticed yet that you're kind of holding to yourself?
I can't think of anything.
There's things that people haven't really talked about, like maybe like the three sheaf, like the three references 333. Like, I thought somebody would get that. Nobody really got that. Or yeah, the bag that I'm potentially like scything was maybe full of fruit and not, you know, like full of blood. Really just kind of little things like that. Yeah. And the fruit, obviously, at the end, the twist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what about for yourself, Roscoe or Frank? Anything that you guys have?
No, I think, I mean, for the most part, you know, I think it comes across as what it is. I mean, you know, maybe a little bit of the fruit stuff. But I mean, I think, yeah, I think it's cool. You know, I think people are appreciating the visuals and appreciating, you know, what we pulled off, and just it being such a totally different Tinashe and just getting her completely bloody and chopping shit up. I mean, dude, that's what I was there for.
Anybody have any questions? Because that could potentially, like, we could answer questions.
Oh
Anybody
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's double check.
comment? You got a question about anything specific from the video before we get off here?
Let's see. Someone asked, would you say the Naturally music video is the alter ego of the Pasadena music video? Because this Lux Reloaded says they have a similar vibe.
Yeah, I actually really wanted to make sure that we try to keep it as separate from Pasadena as possible, because obviously we're shooting in LA, so a lot of like the nature scenery looks similar. But I don't think it was like a direct, no, I don't think it was like direct. It's just, you know, part of playing with that juxtaposition between like light and dark.
Yeah, I see. And then, but why though? Asked, what does the blood taste like? So how is interaction with blood in
It
that?
it was like, it was fruit and like syrup. So it tasted really sweet, but like it didn't taste like you want to eat it. Like it's edible, but it's not like edible, you know? Like
And also, Tinashe doesn't like sweets that much.
that too.
Notoriously not into sweets.
There's also like 3 different types of blood. You know, there was like blood for the face and blood that was edible and blood for the bathtub and yeah, Colin and I, the PD, we just like we went through all sorts of different different formulas and how dark to make some blood and how light. Yes,
Thicker blood, coagulated type blood, running.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And someone asked if the white dress and blood gore might be a reference to the Kill Bill wedding scene in any way.
Not intentionally, no. Not intentionally. But it's kind of giving, you know, I think the white dress and the gore and the innocence of it being like a nursery rhyme character, pretty much. Lil Bo Peep. I think that's where it like really like the horror begins, because you're taking something that like we know and are aware of since we were like little kids. And that's so sweet. It's just like, oh my God, she's so cute. She lost her sheep. She's just walking in the forest with her sheep. She's so innocent. And then having that person then end up shink, you know, I think that that's what kind of made it just really funny and interesting.
Absolutely. It's like that innocence is as such a big element of horror too, just having that juxtaposition, as you mentioned. Someone said, when 666 dropping? um,
Never.
and then, oh yeah, so about the wardrobe as well. How did the wardrobe choices? So I see that the, the Little Bo Peep outfit was all white, creating that kind of contrast. And then how about the cowgirl elements as well? We set up kind of a little backdrop here as well, inspired actually video. But yeah, how was it coming up with those outfits for the narrative?
It was really awesome because we got to make custom looks for this video, which I think was really great. I loved the Bo Peep outfit, obviously, which we've already talked about. The cowgirl moment was amazing because I feel like I've never done a cowgirl moment visually. So again, it was just giving people something totally new, totally fresh, unexpected. I was like, I'm in my country era. I need a cowboy hat. I need the whole thing, you know? And that piece of, that outfit was just like really beautiful and really, really, really well made, like stitched leather. It was amazing. And we had people create custom looks for both of those, which are really talented. I posted them in my story. And then the third look was when I was wearing like the white latex apron, which I thought was really stunning with the blood on it, because it kind of like glistens a bit. Like it doesn't soak in like as if it were cotton or anything. It was latex, so it really looked like 3D, kind of really popped out at you. So
yeah. And then this this narrative as well that you started, and as well as the looks that you just mentioned, do they continue into your will they continue into your live performance as well? Do you want to continue to explore this narrative further?
absolutely. I'm so excited because I get to perform the song coming up. So it's going to be interesting because I don't think we're going to be able to have
blood.
blood on primetime TV. So it's going to be like, okay, how can we bring these themes to a place that it makes sense, but still feels like it fits into the world that we're creating. So we have some work to do to plan out that performance. We're going to get theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time so much. I really appreciate it. And if you have any last questions, right now would be the moment to drop those few more questions. I'll just double check. Lots of "Are you coming to Brazil?" As expected. And then let me see. I believe generally you guys tackled everything that everyone wanted to know about this video, and we're so glad that you guys were so willing to share about everything that everyone was curious about as well. So
thank you all. Thanks for having it. Thanks for curating this discussion. It was really fun. Give people more to say. Thanks, Roscoe. Thanks, Frank, for hopping on. You guys are awesome.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for being
Thanks
on.
for having us.
Thank you all, and you're all welcome on this platform at any time in the future. We really love
awesome. You have an awesome page, dude. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.